Steve mentioned earlier that life gets in the way. And so that can happen. It could be life. They could put their hand up and genuinely be interested in what you have to offer. And then something happens in life. And so now it doesn't become the right time for it to be a priority for them. But if you keep nurturing that potential client and you're sending them emails, telling them stories, inviting them into your world over and over again, then when it is time, you'll be on the forefront of their mind. And something you say will trigger it again. Something you say will trigger that need for what you offer again. And then you go through the process of contacting them again once they raise their hand one more time.
Hey, welcome back to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. I just realized I stole Ronan's intro there, but that's okay. And we are back with the power of five again. It's unusual to have the power of five in one podcast, isn't it?
It's great. It's good Friday the 13th mojo.
Oh, it is Friday the 13th. Wow.
Yeah.
We need all of us. Spooky for that one.
So today's podcast, this is a topic that's very interesting. It's we're going to talk about the truth about this idea of a quality lead. It's something you hear everywhere, not just from photographers. Every industry talks about this quality lead and oh God. Anyway, I can't say that on podcast, can I? Anyway, so Brad, talk to us about this whole notion of quality leads.
Well, what in particular, John? Well, how would you like me to start?
Oh, there's many things we can talk about on this one, but for you, I guess, let's define first, what would you define as a quality lead?
Anybody who's expressed interest in a service or product that a business has, who's put the hand up and said that they're interested.
And I want to, because recently you were doing a Brad's ad critique, and you were saying that, this person was getting leads with their Facebook ads, but they were saying that they weren't quality leads because they weren't answering their calls. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's the lead's fault, isn't it? it's all the lead's fault. Ultimately, I'm very nice. I'm very nice in person. And I'm polite and friendly on mentor calls when people ask questions. But I'll be quite mean on podcasts and say that ultimately, if you have a quality lead problem, you don't have a quality lead problem. You've probably got a work ethic and mindset problem that supersedes that. You've probably expectations of how easy you perceive your business to be far outweighs the realities of what it actually takes to run an effective, successful business. So, if every lead I phoned was fantastic, was going to book ridiculously easy, needed no convincing or needed no help or leverage in able to make that decision, and they had millions, they were worth millions, they could spend tens of thousands with me, then, I'd have the biggest business in the world. We all would. But the reality is that, business is difficult, it's hard, and we have work to do in order to convert leads into great clients. Great clients are made, they're not found. You don't just pick up little pieces of them and suddenly you've got this fantastic business. We're dealing direct business to client. We need to market, we need to speak with individuals. We can't get some contractual work coming through. We have to not factoring in referrals or clients coming in again, but essentially we have to work for every client we get, and it requires a work ethic. It requires a view of, what's the word I'm looking for? We talk about it an awful lot, Jonathan. Prospecting, yeah, that's the word. Prospecting. It requires prospecting. It requires to understand that not every person you're going to speak to is going to be great. You're going to waste time speaking to people that you probably shouldn't be speaking to. But then that's okay, because you're going to speak to somebody who the stars have aligned, and suddenly you can make them into an amazing client. It's just learning that process. And I think a lot of people their expectations are just wild. They think they can run a Facebook ad, generate 100 leads or 10 leads or 8 leads or however many it is, and every single one of them just cannot wait to answer the phone.
and already have tens of thousands ready to spend.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, open question to the floor: like, why do you think that? Where has this come from? This idea that you can just run an ad and everyone who sees the ad is going to be, perfect for your business and are going to be like begging you to book them and begging you to take their money without you having to do anything. Like, where does that come from?
It comes from a love of music, Jonathan.
Go on.
So, Janine, do you like Nirvana?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Bane and Dave Grohl, Nirvana.
So it comes from that, because when you talk to photographers, I've talked to some successful photography business owners, right? And when I say to them, like, if you could have anything for your business, like what would be Nirvana for you? And the one thing that they say to me is, if people just were booked in automatically to our calendar or our diary, turned up and spent loads of money. So it comes from this idea of Nirvana, right? That the Holy Grail, right? That this is what we want. And for some reason they think, and it's probably down to their love of music, that they've been taken in by Nirvana to think that this is possible.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but listen to Nirvana,
How
Ron.
many pints have you had, Ronan?
No, but Ron, it's hope and delusion.
I was going to say the love of participation trophies.
Yeah, it's hope, ego, and delusion. Thinking that the how well you are as a photographer impacts how people perceive you and their willingness to book. That business is easy. That you can just pop up shop and customers are going to come to you. It goes back to my, build a jacuzzi and they will come. No matter what you do, it's the same in email ads. It's the same in, just plop in a studio somewhere, or suddenly you've picked a camera up and now you're a photographer. Like, becoming a photographer is like the lowest barrier of entry business anybody can get into. All you need is a camera. And in most cases, most phones have cameras probably good enough. So we're all photographers. We can all charge for it. So the barrier of entry is that low that, come on, you expect to work somewhere. There's going to be some graft involved somewhere to actually earn some money or to earn revenue and a profit in your business.
Well, I think it's how everybody came into the business too, right? So a lot of people come into it because they love photography and they love taking, and we're portrait photographers, right? So they love taking portraits of people, kids, whatever. And they would do it. I'm sure a lot of people just did it for fun and they were told they were amazing. And oh my gosh, you could do this as a business, And so they're just told they take pretty pictures and you need to do this. You need to charge for this. You can start a business. And so that's how a lot of people get into it. There's no education that came along with how to run the business aspect of it, or this expectation that you're going to actually have to work to get clients because you just take pretty pictures and everybody's going to love it and they're going to want to book you. And so they come into it that way.
So it's not just about the music being the fault. It's about the music and smoking weed.
Oh, Ronan, I love podcasting with you. It's so fun.
My personal opinion, Ronan, I think most of them are taking something far stronger than just marijuana.
Legal in many states now. I don't know where to go with that, Jonathan.
I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah. Steve's bursting at the seams to say something there. I can see it.
I have no response for that one. None.
I don't think anyone has. But back to quality leads.
When I'm speaking to people and they're telling me that they have poor quality leads, invariably a lot of the times their mindset, and Brad touched on it before, is that their assumption and expectation, even before they pick up the phone, is that this person's not going to pick up the phone, or I'm going to have to work harder convincing this person. And so they're already coming into that communication with the client looking for all of the problems. And they've been conditioned to look for problems so well that they hear problems, and the clients may hint at something that they think is a rejection or a problem. And because that's what they're looking for, that's what they're finding all of the time. And they begin to react to it. And then it sets off a chain reaction where their tonality changes, and the way that they then continue the conversation changes, which then affects the client, which then affects the person, and it has this chain reaction. And so I suppose I've got the benefit of working with so many different people, and it's amazing, even with the same leads, that, and I've tested this, whereby somebody's told me that, these leads from this particular campaign were terrible and we couldn't book anybody. I've given it to somebody else who has had a different mindset, and lo and behold, that person was able to book people from that same pool that was previously perceived to be poor quality. And all it was a different mindset. Now, we didn't tell that person that they were bad leads, and we didn't tell them that somebody else had called the leads previously. They thought these were fresh leads. And so, but they had the assumption that, hey, these people have filled out the form, look at their answers, I'm really excited to call them. And their assumption was that they were going to book. And it's funny how many more callbacks that person got and how many more people, it was all people that never booked. So they actually were getting bookings and reasonable bookings from that same pool.
So it's interesting, Steve, you're talking about, I think I've heard your example on this before, and this was not from a Facebook ad campaign. These were from events, correct?
Well, I've done both.
Both? Okay. But so many times I think people have this mentality because they've not prospected really before, or they've not marketed before. They've only done things based on referral. And then they come into the Facebook world and they advertise, and they just expect that the people that fill out the form are automatically going to book in, that it doesn't take any phone calling or working or building the client, like Brad said, and like you have said, right? Because I've never had that experience before in the past of doing an event, going to market, going to putting up a stand, or any other way that you would go out and get business. And so they feel that their only experience has been recently with Facebook and think that doing an online ad, people see my pretty photography, it's going to be just like someone referring them. They filled out the form, so clearly it's just a sale, and then they're shocked when it takes more effort than that.
But I think there's also an expectation or an assumption that if somebody doesn't pick up the phone, they've been rejected.
Yeah.
And so they'll make one phone call and then disregard that lead because they didn't pick up the phone. And we've seen it through Mystery Shopper that we've run, where it's not because the client or the people we are paying to be Mystery Shopper, not because they didn't want to pick up the phone, because we were paying them to pick up the phone, right? But life got in the way. Like, well, you're carrying 2 shopping bags and you've got your kids in tow, and life got in the way of that moment that the photographer was calling. And then life got in the way again when they called again because of something else. But I think it's so easy to believe that we're being rejected and take it as rejected, rather than fighting for the client and knowing that this is something that they really want, and usually something that they've been denying themselves of, and having a belief that these people deserve it, and they've not allowed themselves to have and to be treated to an incredible experience. And then it's our job to make a stand for them and try to make sure that we give every possible way for them to have that experience. Because a lot of people, when it comes to photography, a lot of people don't believe that they're good enough to be photographed. And so they're not jumping. They'll put up their hand, but then second guess themselves. But I think a lot of the times the real issue is that people think they're disturbing someone, or they think they're being pushy, or that because somebody hasn't answered the phone, they don't want us anymore. Or sometimes, I've seen people push leads aside because they think it's the wrong postcode. And, my business was in the middle of the wrong postcode. And our best clients came from where a lot of people thought wasn't the best postcode. So, and I've had businesses in the right postcode, and let me tell you, the wrong postcode was so much easier to make money. But I feel as though when I'm talking to people, that assumption and that self-talk is where most of the blocks are. And it's mindset and belief.
I was going to mention that as well about that's another thing we see when people talk about quality leads is that, oh, they're from an area that will never spend. Oh, no, trust me, that area, they have no money there. And Brad, you told me a story the other day about, when your mum recently delivered an order to a client's home and they'd spent, I can't remember the amount, you probably remember, and she was like in shock.
No, that's happened many, many, many times. My parents started to deliver artwork just after COVID because it enabled them to get out of the house, and it was something that they could actually do. And that shocked and surprised them at just looking at what clients were spending. The clients who were spending thousands, our best clients on paper financially were just ordinary people. Just real ordinary people living in council homes across the UK who had just loved their experience and loved their photographs and loved what it had meant to them, and they had found the money to invest. And granted, the demographic we go for tends to be people, 40, 50 plus, so they do tend to have the cash to be able to invest. But just because they don't want to buy flash things, doesn't mean that they can't invest in photographs when they want to. My mum, delivered some artwork for a client who'd spent a few thousand with us recently, and was just, I suppose, loosely not shocked, but just surprised. I suppose it's that constant surprise of seeing a client's home. And I'll see like what clients ordered and then picturing what their home is, and it's just the exact opposite of what you imagine. I can always remember, this was years ago. I was in the studio. I don't know, I'd have been 19, just in. And we used to have a little sign up that said, finance options available. And this guy came in to pick some orders up. It sounded very well to do. He was there to pick up his order, and his order was a free print. He was just picking up a free print. I gave him his free print, and he saw the sign, and he scoffed and went, "Do people really finance photographs?" I was like, "Yeah, they do." It just looked. It looked at it as if like it was absolutely ludicrous, and then disappeared. And then I searched that gentleman up and found out, he lived on a very large estate. He was a very wealthy man, but I saw absolutely no value in the photographs that we'd done. He just got dragged along for some gift print. So example there of, I know people that would kill to have him in their studio. Literally a man of his substance and wealth, but ultimately he just did not care. And thought the mere notion of people buying photographs was nonsense. But that people were putting photographs on finance, he just couldn't get his head around it.
No, it's an interesting thing. It comes up over and over again. I find this whole notion of. Go ahead, Ron. You're going to say something?
So I was going to say, I have a question for you all. So why do you hear this so much then, that it's the leads are a bad quality? What's driving that? They always blame the leads.
It's instinctive that we want to blame something other than ourselves. And so whenever things go wrong, we want to blame something. And I suppose that's why when I ran my studio, I had a number of people doing similar things, because when one person was having a bad day, the other people weren't having bad days. And so you could then leverage off the people that were doing well with the same resource. And so it sort of put my mind back to, okay, it's up to us. And I could tell what sort of a day somebody was having just by their energy for the day, how they walked in, and their language for the day. Because if it was positive and they were enthusiastic and they were looking forward to making calls or meeting people or greeting people, or they're really excited about a client, it was going to be a great day. But if they came into work to work and they brought in whatever issues they were having at home, it usually turned out to be not such a great day for our clients. And it's easy to then blame whatever else is going on, but usually we can, our mindset changes our approach to what we're given, and that then changes the result.
So I can't just listen to Nirvana, smoke pot,
smoke weed,
smoke pot without having a mirror in front of me to look at yourself and go, it's you.
You can't blame your brother for buying that marijuana for you. You're the one who lit it up. You're the one that decided.
So how do we, because it's human nature, isn't it, to blame something else other than ourselves and to look at ourselves and what we're doing. And it's easy to point over there and say, it's that thing over there, you know. But when you point, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you point at something, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you, right?
Stop pointing at my office.
So just think about that. If you blame something and you point at it, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. So just think about that. You have to accept responsibility for your business if you truly want a business. And it's really interesting, guys, because I've been on a lot of calls with photographers recently, and they're saying to me that the inquiries they used to get by people just Googling them and finding them on their website is drying up very, very quickly right now. So if you don't have a proactive marketing strategy to reach out to people who are blissfully unaware that they even need you and need your service, well, then the people who are actually searching right now, the searches are going down for a lot of things on Google. So you need to be proactive. You need to make people who are blissfully unaware that you can make a real difference to them through the service that you offer them. But in doing your proactive marketing, not everybody is going to be right, and not everybody is going to be right now this second. And that's a key thing too, Janine, that we see, right? Is that it's not about just the leads we gather who are ready to buy today, right? And we can't give up on those leads. But some people, when we have our email nurturing in place and we constantly reach out to them, every couple of months, and we don't give up on them, that can be the right time for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Steve mentioned earlier that life gets in the way. And so that can happen. It could be life. They could put their hand up and genuinely be interested in what you have to offer. And then something happens in life. And so now it doesn't become the right time for it to be a priority for them. But if you keep nurturing that potential client and you're sending them emails, telling them stories, inviting them into your world over and over again, then when it is time, you'll be on the forefront of their mind. And something you say will trigger it again. Something you say will trigger that need for what you offer again. And then you go through the process of contacting them again once they raise their hand one more time. So yeah, just because it's not right now doesn't mean it won't be right down the future. And we've seen that in our own business. You know, I think I told the story to you guys. I'm not sure if it was on podcast or not. But we recently sent out for Grandparents' Day, because that's coming up here. Actually, it's this weekend in the U.S. Or was it last week? I don't know. Anyways, it was about a month ago. I sent out the email doing a story about Grandparents' Day, and had somebody raise their hand and they were interested. And when I looked at her information, she had filled out wanting a wizard session 4 years ago, but never booked for whatever reason. And she's been getting our emails for 4 years now. And this one struck a chord. And, you know, when I talked to her, she told the story about her mother passing away last summer. And now it's even more important to her. And she saw my email and she was like, oh my gosh, I really need to do this with my boys and my father. You know, so you just never know, you know, and it's important to tell stories. And it's important to keep inviting people into the world that you have in with photography, because you never know what story is going to hit home to trigger in their mind that they need what we have to offer.
And sometimes it's just life got in the way. We've had quite a few people that you talk to, you're so positive they're going to book, they promise they're going to book, and they're going to call you back with a credit card, and then the famous "they ghosted me" should be a movie about it. Hey, they ghosted me, and try. We can't get a hold of them, and our assumption is that they're not interested. And we've kept them in nurturing sequences, just like you said, Janine and Ronan. And you later find out that, you know, that time that they ghosted us, they found out that they had, in this particular case, had cancer. And so it took them a year and a half to go through whatever they needed to go through to then be ready to come back and have their photographic experience. But I think a lot of the times we assume that they were just the wrong client for us, and we don't include them in our nurturing system because we want to lay blame because, and, you know, almost they become the enemy because they've ghosted us, but we don't know why. We don't know what's happening in their world. We don't know what's happening in their life and what they're dealing with. And so it's really important that, you know, we don't assume and just believe that there's something happening in their life that's preventing them from responding right now. And if we take care of them, they could potentially be a great client later on. And they spent $6,000 and referred us more clients afterwards. Sorry, Janine, go.
No, I was gonna reaffirm that and say that I've noticed too that people are becoming accustomed to online, the world and how it works. And we've had multiple people say, even though my baby's not even close to a year, I saw your ad, I clicked on it because I want to stay in your world so I remember to book you. And they are expecting to be nurtured because that's the way it works in online marketing, right? And so they know this and they don't want to forget. And so while it might not be right now, they're purposely putting themselves into your world because they want to be reminded, because they know that's how it works. So if you fail on that aspect of nurturing them, you have failed their expectation. And I do it. I know anybody listening to this podcast, you know, you've done it. I've signed up for things online because I wanted to do it. I couldn't do it right now, but I knew if I didn't sign up for it, I would forget. But I knew I'd end up in their nurturing sequence and it would be a constant reminder to get it done. It's kind of like a daily to-do list popping up on my task. So don't fail in their expectations. And the multiple phone call things too. We've had people, and it's been short term. And Steve, you and I talked about this when we were recording the training on the booking cycle and how many phone calls you make. We've had so many people fill out a thing and then go on a cruise for 10 days.
Yeah.
And they thank us that we continue to call them. And they even say that we weren't ghosting you. We swear we just filled out that lead form and then we went on a cruise. We didn't have internet for 10 days. Thank you so much for not giving up on us. You know, people who cruise are great clients for me. I love cruise people. They get it. They love photos. They take photos on their cruises and they have, anyways, but we didn't give up on them. And had we given up on them, then we would have not met their expectation of what kind of business that we were. So I think so many people just need to switch that mindset that you're not bothering people. People are busy. People do have lives, and it's your responsibility to the interest that they gave you. Like Brad said, they've raised their hand. They're showing some sort of interest in what you have. And you're not doing them a service or your business or service if you don't continue to follow up with them.
And we're being bombarded, Janine.
Yeah.
We're being bombarded every day by lots of information. And as much as we mean to get back to somebody because we know somebody's called us, like I do it all the time.
I do it all the time
because we're bombarded with information. I remember buying gift certificates for my now ex-wife, and I have to beg the person because she's asked me for this gift certificate. She wanted to go to this specific place it was a massage place and beauty massage place. Desperately wanted to go, so I bought her a $200 gift certificate, and I begged these people, look, if I buy this, you have to call her because I know what's going to happen. You're going to give it to her, she's going to put it in a drawer, and it'll never see the light of day. And I said to them, it will take at least 4 phone calls for her to come in, and unless you're prepared to do that, then I'm not buying the gift certificate. And it does. It takes multiple times, even though somebody desperately wants to do something. We put so many other things before ourselves. And my ex was that person who put the kids before herself, put her mum before herself, put me before herself. And we forget to take care of ourselves. And so sometimes, even though we know that we want something, there are so many other things that we think take precedence. And unless we're actively helping somebody put themselves forward, then it's never going to happen.
So do you think we now have a new theme song to go with Difference Maker Revolution?
I can't wait to hear this, Ronan. I'm a little scared.
I'm totally scared.
but as long as you sing it, Ronan.
No, I can't sing, Steve. But do you not think it should be Ghostbusters? Because, we help our clients to not only create the business of their dreams across all the business disciplines that we've talked about, where all the systems and training and mentorship and coaching to help you with that. But we also help you to bust those things that are causing your clients to ghost you. Ghostbusters. What do you think?
Who are you going to call?
Face palm. Massive face palm. Oh my God. I think what is important is that this idea of a quality lead, the truth is that there's no such thing. They don't exist.
Well, they do exist. Every single lead is a quality lead if you believe it is.
Well, that was what I was getting to, but you beat me to it. Oh, good job in beating me to it.
Oops. You were just triggering me then, Jonathan, weren't you?
There you go.
So, Jonathan, I'm sold. What do I need to do? What does our listeners need to do?
Pick up the phone and start dialing. Stop giving out. Only joking. What you need to do is you need to click the link below this podcast episode video, and you need to schedule a call to discuss how you can join Inner Circle and how we can help you to implement the systems you need to implement to increase your sales, have a fully booked calendar that fits your lifestyle with those quality leads, and how you can thrive as a photographer.
Or just skip the queue and join straight away.
And there's always people out there who will do that.
Yeah.
Action takers, and we love action takers.
Yeah.
Bye from me.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
See y'all soon.